Hey everyone, I titled this live Buffering Our Life Away. I touched a little bit about buffering in the motivation episode of the Thought Vault podcast, and I wanted to kind of just talk about it a little bit more. So buffering is basically what we do to buffer ourselves from really dealing with the junk in our life. And we all have junk. We all have junk that we are having to walk through because life isn't perfectly balanced. Life isn't perfect at all. And circumstances happen, situations occur, feelings get hurt, all the things happen. And we don't always know when, why, or, the answers to a lot of it. So we have to manage our emotions about it because our emotions are what normally is the reaction we have to all these types of circumstances and situations in our lives. And so it's our job to navigate these emotions to help us work through any of those said things. The problem is we don't allow ourselves to. And so we mitigate the onset of these heavy emotions with different things. So buffering could look like doing a lot, so filling your schedule and not being still so that you don't have to address what you feel like when you get silent and get with just yourself. A lot of people are very, very uncomfortable being with themselves because that normally gives them the opportunity to really have emotions and thoughts about things, and our thoughts can take us to some scary places at times if we are not doing our work at working through our emotions. And that's really what I want to drive home today, is that part of the equation to a healthy life, a healthy mind, a healthy body is really about working through all of these emotions that come up just from living our everyday life. So buffering can also look like having an overreaction. You can sometimes know if you're not dealing with your emotions if you overreact to things. So if you have like an extreme reaction to something normal, if your kids fight with each other or they drop and break something, or your husband forgets to do something, or just any normal thing about life, and you have this explosion of emotion about it, that normally is a signifier that something is going on underneath and you're not dealing with an emotion that you're having because it's trying to get out and express itself because you're not allowing yourself to go there. We sometimes don't give emotions the weight that they should be recognized at having because they're not physical, they're not tangible, right? But the problem is emotions truly dictate the physical part of our life. And what I mean by that is our emotions are drivers of what we're thinking about. And our emotions cause our actions. If you fly off the handle and scream at somebody, that's because of an emotion, a rise of anger or aggravation. And why are you aggravated or angry? It's because you thought about something. That made me mad. No, don't do that. Why did this have to happen, right? And so you have these reactions to that. So your emotions drive the physical part of your life. So they are super imperative to your overall health, because if you eat or overconsume or binge eat, bad things, what's going to happen? You're going to feel terrible. You're going to have a physical problem from binge eating because you're sad, or binge eating because you're nervous or overwhelmed or grieving, and so you're trying to compensate the grief with food that makes you feel good. And hey, I understand that. I mean, I love a sweet treat. They make me happy. They literally give me feelings of joy when I eat a chocolate glazed donut with sprinkles, okay? So we have to be responsible, wise, and mature enough to understand the emotional impact that life has on us. And it looks like that. It looks like a myriad of things in our lives, and we have to be conscientious to think what am I doing right now that's exacerbating this situation? Because where I was going with this is when we're buffering with things like binge watching TV instead of doing the chores around our house, eating the bad food, choosing not to work out, staying up until 2 a.m. because you are just locked in to a show, or you're just trying to avoid going to bed because you don't, you want to have more time to yourself before you have to get up in the morning and go to work, go to that job you don't like, do the things at home you don't want to do, whatever your situation is, deal with that hard relationship, deal with that, health circumstance or caretaking for someone. I mean, the list goes on what could be happening right now in your life. And so our responses normally are not to deal with the emotions. Our responses are normally to buffer because we don't want to sit in those emotions. But the encouragement is that emotions are temporary. Emotions are not permanent. Emotions come and go. And here's a really cool thing. You can control your emotions just by controlling your thoughts. No, we are not to have something happen and go, oh, all is good, nothing's bothering me, and like move on and not address it because you don't want to feel it. Although if you did have that reaction, you honestly would feel good because you're telling yourself, I feel good, I'm not dealing with it. But here's the crux, you have to deal with the emotion. But the positive is it is temporary. It does move along. You do move past that response. Can it come back? Yes. I mean, think about the grieving process. If you've ever lost someone close to you, that is a process. I mean, I still cry over people that I've lost in my life, through death. I'm specifically talking about death, but it could be, you could lose a relationship or lose, a myriad of things. So it's a process. And the thing we all must be aware of is that if you only live in the buffer, you are never going to achieve contentment with that thing, because you're not dealing with it, and it will, as much as you think it's not affecting you, it is affecting you. It is affecting you. Emotions trigger our physiological responses. Think about when you're stressed, how your heart rate increases, your blood pressure rises, you get flushed, your stomach tightens, you have problems going to the bathroom. I mean, a myriad of things can happen just from stress. And stress is released when you're thinking about thoughts. Your body releases stress hormone, cortisol. And so when we are having emotions, these triggers are happening. These chemical things are happening, and we're having a physical response to that. You can push it aside. You can avoid and buffer as much as you want, but at any still moment, which is often, at any other time when something that shouldn't make you upset makes you explode, it's all going to come out. Like, you're not going to get past it. You have to address it. And the big part of it is once you address it and face it head on, you can get motivated to grow from that, to learn from it, to change. If we are all doing the same, buffering every day, filling our schedule, binge watching TV, eating junky food, not taking care of ourselves, avoiding people on purpose, like whatever it is, that's going to manifest into other problems because you're going to be putting more weight in the bad eating. You're going to be putting more weight in staying up late and not taking care of yourself. All these hormones are going to be released. You're going to damage relationships. So all these things can happen when you don't head on address an emotion you're having, a feeling you're having, and walking through that. So how do you walk through it? Well, one of the easiest ways I walk through emotions is by literally writing them down, because your emotions are coming from thoughts. So when you sit down and you write down your emotions, all the thoughts behind that emotion comes out as well, and you look at those thoughts. What are you thinking about? Are you subconsciously thinking about how much you don't like your job? And so every part of your day is an aggravation and you're walking around very negative. Are you thinking about, just a myriad of stuff? I keep saying myriad, but a variety of this, because we're all walking through different things right now, especially in this season, and dealing with so many opinions and so much negativity. We have to safeguard ourselves, and the best way we can do that is by handling ourselves. And to handle ourselves, we have to run through our emotions. We have to have an understanding of what we're feeling, why we're feeling it, and move forward in a direction that is positive and life-giving, and helps us to have a better understanding of who we are, what is really going on, what are the facts about the situation, and being able to respond to that. Because a lot of us want to respond to the emotion that we're having. I'm angry, so like let me do something to fix the anger, when really we have to address the situation and the facts about the situation. Not our opinions about it, but the facts about it. You know, if your problem is that you don't feel good and you're not sleeping good and you're having problems with, you know, energy and whatever, you have to think back, okay, what are the facts about my situation? I'm staying up till 2 a.m. I'm eating sugar all day and not a good diet. You know, I'm not working out and moving my body, which we all know is healthy for us. So you have to look at it as a whole. And that takes practice. It takes practice because a lot of us don't have a lot of time for a lot of things, even journaling. But if you want to feel better, if you want to live a life more content and more joyful, you got to put in the work. And once you start training your mind to really address the feelings that you're having and circumventing a lot of the angst you have by stopping the bad thinking, it becomes second nature. And you literally wake up and you're that morning person you've always dreamed you wanted to be. You're the person that lights up a room as soon as you walk in, and you're the light, right? You're the lighthearted part of life for so many people when you are able to maturely handle yourself. And that's a much nicer place to be than a negative, worn out, sad, anxious, tired, depleted person. We don't want to be that. And if you're walking in those emotions, and if that's how you're feeling the majority of the time, you've got to address what's going on here. And marry that with what you know in your heart. Marry that with what God tells you about you and what the truth is. And that's a whole other topic. But I just wanted to shed some light on buffering, how it could be looking in your life, and if maybe shedding some light on what you need to address right now. Because we all know what we're buffering from. If you sit down and for a moment and pause and think about, like, what am I indulging in right now? And it's usually because you're avoiding something else. So think about that. Have a good day, y'all. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.